everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Sit Down, the show where anything goes and nothing is left behind. As always, I am Steve, your friendly neighborhood lawn gnome, and I am very excited to bring you all another great conversation with a great topic, and of course, as always, a great YouTuber to discuss it with. And I'm very excited about this specific Sunday Sit Down, and I think it's only because of the fact that there's been a lot of pre-gaming, if you will. My friend who has joined me today and I have just been talking nonstop about how this is going to take place, how the questions are going to go down, and it has been a great deal of fun. And I'm also very excited about this specific topic because just in case you all are new to my channel, or some of you, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. For all of you returning, you've probably been hearing that at the end of 2020, my channel is going to be going through a dramatic change, and that's the topic of this one. It's based on the David Bowie song Cha-Cha Changes, and it's really about when you began your channel, you had a vision, and you didn't necessarily know if that was going to be the way your channel was going to be for the rest of your run. Things can happen, life happens, things cause changes, and the question remains, when you have to face those changes, how do you work them in, specifically when it comes to creating your content? And my guest with me today is a well-known name in the booktube community. You probably have heard her name numerous times because she participates and sometimes creates a lot of readathons. And that's one of the few things that I appreciate about her, but also she's definitely one of the more charismatic presence in the community. And this is Kat from BrewsandReviews. So Kat, good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for taking the time to join me on my show today.
Hey, I'm super happy to be here. I'm like just a nervous mess because that's just how I am. So sorry for my like weird chaotic energy, but that's just who I am. Yeah, no, I'm really happy to be here. It's like really exciting to actually be talking about this because it's not something that I've really talked about online really very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I am also always happy when I have a specific person on as a guest, and I get to say I am one of the OG followers. I know that I was one of the first that actually found you guys and started watching you, and I was pretty much watching all of these changes unfold, which was very interesting. So, as always, when we do this, we have a series of 7 questions, and of course, we just have the conversation as it goes along. And the first question, as always, we're going to begin at the beginning. So if you've all been watching Kat recently, you probably may not know that this channel of hers, BrewsandReviews, originally was a duo. There were 2 people here that were making videos. So the first question that I have for you, of course, is you start off with your original channel, which was you, and at the time it was Hen. What was the true birth of it? Like, how did it come to be? The 2 of you put your heads together. You said, let's make a YouTube channel. How did this become a thing? How was it born? How was BrewsandReviews created?
Well, it's weird because I actually started thinking about creating a YouTube channel when I lived like 3 hours away from like where I grew up, which is where Han lived. And I was like, you know, I think I want to make a YouTube channel. And I sat there and I tried to film the BookTube newbie tag on my own. And oh my God, it was a mess. It was like a trash fire. It was, I looked at it back and I was like, no, that's not ever seen the light of day for anyone ever. So I kind of like just put that aside. And then I ended up moving back to like where I'm from. And like, it just sort of happened sort of naturally because Hannah and I would always talk about books together. And then we just kind of thought, well, why don't we actually do this? Because I tried to do it and I was like, no, this doesn't work. But then we were quite natural in talking to each other about it together. So it just sort of worked a little bit better. And that's why we sort of just said, yeah, I'll give it a go. Why not? That's what happened.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how the story is when it comes to any content creator because everybody's story is very different. I mean, I'm actually in the process right now. Since you've been subscribed to my channel, you've probably seen a 10 for 12 or two, and I believe you participated in one of them as well.
Yeah.
So this year I'm doing something a little bit different where I'm actually giving the fans the 10 pivotal moments of my stay here on YouTube. So the first one is actually going to be how I started. I
Yeah.
always thought that it was something that I was going to venture on alone, merely because of the fact that I didn't really have many friends that were interested in this kind of thing. I mean, like, I had a good amount of friends, and we all shared similar interests. Like, we all loved the same movies, we listened to the same music, we read comic books, we collected weird stuff, we watched sports. So there was always common ground, but no one really said, yeah, I want to create a YouTube channel. I want to throw my thoughts out there. I have a friend that actually had a YouTube channel, but he didn't do what you and I do, which is basically just talk in front of a camera about things that we like. He just like put video game stuff on there and other stupid little videos. Like, he once had pet rats, and so he had their birthday on a video, and he put their rats eating crackers and whatnot. But that's the beauty of YouTube anyway. You know, you do whatever you want. You make whatever you want to create. And so I started out just basically saying to myself, you know what, let me just see what I can do in regards to talking about movies and other things. And that's pretty much where my show first came into being. But I did have some help. I did have my friend who I just talked about with the rats. He is also someone who I mention all the time on my channel, the notorious Mr. Beagle. He even was a guest on Sunday Sit Down once, and he helped me really get it off the ground because he edits professionally for a living. So he knew this stuff better than I did, so I had him help me with my editing. But most of the time it was pretty much just me running my whole show, and I never really thought that I would ever have anybody else really help me with my specific show. But, you know, we'll get a little bit further on in regards to other changes. So let's get into the second question, and that is, how was it in terms of decision-making and scheduling? Clearly, when it's multiple people making a channel, obviously the decision-making has to be a joint effort. So what was it like in regards to figuring out what you guys were going to want to discuss in each and every video? Was there any like times when heads were actually butting against each other because you guys couldn't really agree on anything? Like, how did it all go down?
Yeah, not really, to be honest. Like, we were quite similar in terms of like the things that we actually wanted to talk about. Like, if there was anything that one of us wanted to talk about, like, for instance, I used to do a series called Complaints with Cat, where I would just basically rant about something terrible that I read, which I'm slightly bringing back soon.
I saw that in a few of your videos recently. There was that one video, I can't remember which book you were talking about, but it got to the point where you were literally like growling, like you were just so angry with it.
It just offended me in many ways, but you know,
raw emotions works. It really, really works. When you are natural, that's when your most genuine self comes out, and that's really what your true appreciators like to watch.
Yeah, I think for me, a lot of it's about relaxing because I just need to relax and talk. But like, yeah, back to what I was saying. When it came to a point where like one of us wanted to talk about something, we would sort of just do a solo video for that, but like have like an intro and an outro together. But most of the time we would just agreed with each other. We were just like, I want to do a video on this, and they'd be like, yeah, sure. And then we'd sit down together and like write out answers for things, or like write out little points that we wanted to discuss, because a lot of the books that we had in common from like our past, because we'd like grown up together, so a lot of our books we had very similar tastes. It's just I think I tended to branch off into like adult fantasy a little bit more, but yeah, otherwise our tastes were like super in sync, so it sort of worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's pretty much what I've seen in regards to channels that have multiple hosts. I just think that because it works so well is because the people share such a common ground. And because of the fact that there is a common ground, it's so much easier to decide what to talk about. It's great that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you do beforehand to make sure that all of your talking points are there, and you want to see, you know, where you both agree or where you disagree, because that just adds to the conversation. I mean, when I do any collaboration, and clearly you know this now since you have joined me on a few already, you can clearly see that I like to put together a lot of preparatory work. Like, I just want to make sure that there's no room for error, but more importantly, no room for surprise. I want people to be comfortable. I want people to be aware of everything and make sure that everybody's points of view and voices are heard, because I just, at the end of the day, want people to have fun. And that's pretty much what being a YouTube content creator is all about. I mean, you and I clearly have seen a great deal of videos, and even you and myself probably have done this a couple of times, where we've just talked about how, you know, the stress is getting to us. Sometimes even being a content creator is just very overwhelming at times. And that's just because while this is something that we like to do, we have to also remember that this is not our day job, you know?
Yeah, I totally know that. Yeah. I think the biggest thing I struggle with is like replying to people's comments. And that sounds terrible because, like, obviously I absolutely love to have comments from people and I love that communication. I'm just like, my mind does this weird thing where it's like I can only talk to people for so long in a day, and then like it switches off, and then I'm like, I can't reply to comments now because I did that all at work today, and like, that's like my biggest stress.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's kind of funny because when it comes to the comments, you know, there are certain comments that are worth answering, just because of the fact that it's not that I'm trying to be mean, but if someone just writes, "Oh, great job," or "nice video," it's like, all you could do is just put the little heart there or put the thumbs up there, just because, okay, because that's the only way to respond. Like, you don't necessarily have to write out in big bold letters, "Thank you so much," every single time. But if someone's going to throw a comment in there that obviously has room for conversation, and you think that it could be really nice to have that conversation with said person, or if someone really throws out something that you either just love that that person said that and you just want to say that was just a fantastic idea, or even when someone throws you a little bit of shade and you just basically want to find out, why are you saying this? I mean, that's one of the few things that some people need to not be afraid of, and that's the negative. I mean, constructive criticism is not the same as negative feedback, but even when it comes to negative feedback, you have to basically pick your battles. You got to say, well, which one of these is worth actually talking about? I mean, I just put out this morning my review of The English Patient.
Okay.
And I hated the movie. I couldn't deal. I thought it was terrible. And I am just curious to see what's going to happen, because I didn't really drag it through the mud like I did with a movie like, oh, let's say Dances with Wolves, because I hate that movie too. But I basically just couldn't connect with it. And I'm just curious to see what people are going to say. And if someone's just going to write to me like, you know, well, fuck you, like, obviously I'm not going to answer that. And if someone's going to basically say to me, well, here's the reasons why you should have appreciated the movie, I'm just going to respond to that. Like, hey, look, I didn't see it. I'm sorry. You know, I'm gonna have to be a little cliche in the culture that we're living right now. It wasn't made for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I think the thing is, like, a lot of people just, like, we all have opinions and, like, respect the opinion. If you don't like the opinion, you can say you disagree with the opinion, but, like, don't come at me for just having an opinion.
Yes.
It's not the popular one.
Yeah, look, that's That's a conversation for another video, but that's one of the few things that I'm actually glad to see happening in the community right now. People basically saying, you know, just because I don't think the same way you do does not mean that I'm a bad person. I think the part that makes me laugh so much is that is being said by a whole bunch of people that used to act like that, and now they're suddenly realizing the errors of their ways, and they're like, what have I been doing with my life, you know? I'm like, well, thank God you officially decided to wake up and realize you were being not a great person, and now your road to redemption has begun.
Yeah.
So let's get into the third question. So obviously you were working with Han. Things were definitely good because clearly you both got a lot of positive feedback. Your video content was great. You got a whole bunch of subscribers, and then the big change happened. All of a sudden, there's a video and it's just you. And basically, you clearly said, listen, I'm just ripping the Band-Aid right off right now. Han and I have decided that we're going to venture in different directions. So how did you feel about the fact that, especially now that you told me that you did have a first attempt as a solo creator, how did it feel knowing that you were going to be a solo creator again this time? So were there any doubts about you going about it? And you can be as general or specific as you want in regards to answering this question.
Yeah, I think I was a bit unsure about what I actually wanted to do at first. Like, I was a bit like, well, I didn't want to stop doing YouTube because I felt like I've spent like this whole time building up relationships with people, and I didn't want to lose that. And I was having a really good time on YouTube. So I was like, I don't want that to end. So my choice here is to, one, go on and pretend that this is totally normal and not say anything at all, or which I think is a little bit disrespectful to the people who are like watching my channel. Like, I want to say, this is what's happened. Like, just decided to go in different directions, and that's that. But like, that at least lets people know that, like, oh, you don't have to worry about anything, like nobody's died or anything, it's just we just decided to go in different directions. Like, I think I was really nervous. Like, I'm in general heavily anxiety driven crazy mess, but that first video was just an absolute train wreck, and a lot of the original, like the videos that I started to do on my own after that, were not good. I haven't been able to watch them back since. Like, I don't go back and look at them because I'm pretty sure I had to edit them so heavily that it must just be like a jumpy, like,
Yeah.
mess of me just like doing the robot. Yeah, so I think a lot of it was really disjointed. I'm not like necessarily the most natural speaker, and like I tend to find if I have in mind that I want to say something, then I sort of lose my train of thought and then start saying something else, and then I go, wait, what was I originally trying to say? Did I even make the point I was trying to make? And then yeah, so it goes off on like a weird tangents and stuff like that. So I think it took me a while to like actually even get over the fact that I was just had to talk out loud on my own without, because like when you're with someone else, you have that person to fill the gap for when you go, oh yeah, what was I saying? Because they just sort of come in like a normal like conversation, and it just sort of is a natural flow. Whereas if you're on your own, then you just sort of sit there and you're like, what was I saying? Oh yeah. And then you just have to cut that bit out, and that took me a while.
Well, to your credit, I mean, don't forget, you know, you had now officially had a great deal of experience about doing that. Even though you were with another person, you pretty much understood your flow, you understood your format, and I'm pretty sure that even though you were just, you know, trying to cope with the fact that you were going to be doing this solo, and, you know, I definitely will give you a ton of credit for actually managing to stick around, because clearly people really appreciate your work. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the amount of subscribers that you have. That says something about you. But clearly you had now a better understanding of where you wanted to go rather than starting everything from scratch. But at the same time, you know, there are people that just say, you know what, I've been doing this for maybe a year, maybe 2 years, or maybe even longer than that, and I'm just going to throw my entire format in the trash and I'm going to start again. People do that. People have rebooted their channels in the last couple of years, and I've seen it happen. And you know what? That could be a good thing, and sometimes it could be a challenge because, you know, people have gotten a certain perception of you. People want to see something from you that they're familiar with. But as I always say, you have all the rights to do the complete 180. You have the right to turn your channel on its head and start fresh because it's not theirs. The channel belongs to you. You're the one that has control. The minute, you see, the thing that I always laugh about, and I'm not going to deny the fact that I was in this position when I first started making my videos. The minute you get on the camera and you tell people, I need your help, I want to know what you want to see on this channel, well then congratulations, you've officially lost your channel. It's not yours anymore. It belongs to them.
It's fair. It's a fair point. Like, I don't know. See, I've always avoided asking questions like that because I'm painfully like, no one's even going to answer me what if I asked them for something, no one would even answer me. So I just sort of avoid all those questions anyway.
Well, do me a favor and don't, because you're in a good place right now. I mean, I feel that in the last 2 years, I've just seen so much more of a natural presence, especially when I still remember this one video that you made where you were talking about all the books you didn't start, and yet you promised yourself that you were going to read them. And I also have to sort of say thank you to you just because of the fact that after all that time, you finally picked up the Gunslinger, and you didn't have to, but I appreciate the fact that you sort of apologized about not buddy reading with me, and trust me, I had nothing, no offense was taken. I had no issue with the fact that we never got to read it together. And quite frankly, I will just say that it would definitely be a lot of more fun to have read it with somebody else, because goddamn, I have so much to say about these books, because these books are just weird. They are so weird. But I still appreciate the fact that you still kept me in your mind in regards to reading them, because clearly you felt there was and again, you didn't have to, but I sort of feel happy about the fact that you did want to read the books with me and just have a fun conversation. So thank you. I appreciate that. That was very kind of you.
Well, to be honest, I was just like, I'm always in a weird place when it comes to buddy reads, like, because like, and just in general doing things with other people, like, again, because of that thing that I was saying where my mind sort of just switches off and it's like, you can't do any more talking to other people today. So I always like have like, ugh, about like, I want to do it, but like, I know that I'm not going to be able to do it. Mm-hmm. So like, rather than like let people down, I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to say no to this at this one point in time. And that's just a thing. That's just how my mind works. And like, I really wanted to do that. And then every time I just looked at that book and I was like, Steve'd be so disappointed in me. I've not read that book yet. I was like, I didn't get to read it. I need to read it. And then I was like, I want to talk to you about it. And then in the end, I didn't end up liking it as much as I'd like to have liked it. So I guess we probably wouldn't have ended up having read even more of the series together, because I probably wouldn't be so eager to pick them up. But like, yeah, it's one of those weird things, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, I have been struggling with the last of the books because I hated the 5th book. I thought the 6th book was interesting, but the book was just so weird and so trippy. So basically, I am literally struggling to cross the finish line with book 7, because I am finding so many ways to prevent myself from picking up that book. Now, like I said before we started, I'm going to be rereading the Lunar Chronicles, and then I've got to read the 5th book in the Miss Peregrine series, and now I want to pick up the Neil Schusterman Scythe trilogy. So I'm like trying to find so many ways not to just get disappointed, but I'm gonna finish. I have to finish this series. It's literally the last book, and the fact that I've even managed to continue after I hated the 5th book so much, you know, it says a lot about me. It's just like, it's just because of the fact that I'm a completionist, and the same thing could be said about my channel. It's like, yes, I'm doing an overhaul, but there were so many times, specifically in the last 2 years, where I just wanted to say, I'm done. I don't want to make YouTube videos anymore. I'm just having such a difficult time right now. But I'm like saying to myself, I promised myself 10 years of this. If I don't do this, I'm going to just feel like I failed.
Yeah.
And it's just like me these days, I'm such a determined person when it comes to meeting my goals in every aspect of my life right now. And this is coming from someone who, when he was a kid, was one of the laziest people in the world. But but I really was determined, and I'm going to keep on fighting. In regards to changes for me, one of my biggest challenges was when, at the beginning, when my friend was helping me edit my videos, he said to me, I don't have the time anymore. So I knew that I had to teach this to myself. So I went onto my computer, and of course, I'm going from a professional editing software package to Windows Movie Maker. So basically,
we love a bit of Windows.
Yeah, so it's a downgrade, a major downgrade. But
Yeah.
I was so glad that it happened because it gave me the opportunity to improve on my own skills with computers. Because my friend, whenever I needed help with my computer, I'd reach out to him. And it's not just me, it's so many other people. It got to the point where he now has a t-shirt that says, "No, I will not fix your computer." So now I've actually learned so much just because I decided to just do it myself. And 2013, I'm going to touch on that later on this year when I do more of my 10 for 12 moments, but I decided that the show on my channel itself needed a massive overhaul because I was just reviewing everything and anything, but part of me just said I need to do something to give it a little bit more of a structure. So in 2013, that was when I decided to do my Out of the Vault series, which is where it's still reviews, but it's only Disney.
Yeah.
And then I did the whole thing with the Great Film Throwback Day, where I basically said, okay, you know what? I'm going to just once a month review an old movie or a fan favorite movie or a cult classic movie that I've never seen. Not only will this be a cool little segment on my channel, but it will also give me the opportunity to be the film appreciator that I knew that I'm supposed to be, because there were all of these great movies like Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, 12 Angry Men, Run Lola Run, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm like, these are movies that I know are loved by so many. And I know that they are great movies. But now I've got to make the time to see these movies.
Yeah.
So
I totally appreciate that. Like, because I have the same sort of struggle in that I haven't watched a lot of like movies, and everyone's like, wait, you haven't seen that? And I'm like, well, I just haven't had the time. And you just sit there and you go, no, I need to make time to watch these things. And if you don't, then you just feels like a little bit, I don't know, weird to not be able to think. It's one of those things that I think need to make time for those. If you actually do that.
Yeah, and so like, yeah, it's changed. Those were my changes. And then the whole idea with doing the whole One That Got Away, because it's like, you know, I didn't see a certain movie in theaters and everybody's saying, oh, you really should see this movie, because one of the few things I like about that idea is the fact that, especially because of the fact that tonight it's the Oscars, that gives me the incentive to see all the Best Picture nominees that I haven't seen yet, because now I'm going to make the time to see Jojo Rabbit. Now I'm going to make the time to finally see the movie that everybody saw that I didn't, and that was Joker. I didn't see it. But yeah, and of course everybody's raving about Parasite. So there's all these movies, and it's like, well, I didn't get to see them in theaters, but now I've got this segment, so I'm going to actually do that. I mean, last year I finally, because I didn't see it in theaters, I used that opportunity to see the Best Picture of last year, which was Green Book. And you know what? I thought it was a great movie. I loved it. It was so much fun. And now the fandom feature, that gives me the opportunity to pull a movie off my shelf that I have watched 50 bazillion times, but now I'm going to watch it again. And now my inner fanboy is going to come out to all my watchers and I'm going to gush about it. And I like the fact that last year I decided to do, because like I have all these movies and I'm like, oh, which one do I watch? Which one do I review? I was like, there's got to be a reason to see it. So I was like, landmark anniversaries. There's a concept. So the movie that I'm going to be on my fandom feature for February that I'm going to be talking about is Tommy Boy, starring Chris Farley and David Spade. Did you ever see that movie?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's a laugh out loud comedy, and it was celebrating this year its 25th anniversary. So I was like, it's one of my favorite comedies of all time. It's so funny. Maybe after the show, I'll send you a clip to watch and you can tell me what you think about it. But it's just a great laugh out loud comedy. It's got sophisticated humor. It's got slapstick in it. It's really, really funny. But there are some other movies that, you know, are landmarks for me that I want to review. One of my all-time favorite animated films this year is celebrating its 30th anniversary, the Jetsons movie.
Oh, you know, I don't think I've ever seen it. I used to watch the Jetsons.
It's my favorite cartoon of all time. And another movie that's celebrating its 25th anniversary this year is Mortal Kombat from 1995. And I'm like, wow, Ferris Bueller's Day Off is having an anniversary soon. Back to the Future is having it. Back to the Future is celebrating a major anniversary this year. It's the 35th anniversary of the film.
It doesn't feel like it's that old, but then I keep doing that thing where I'm like, the 80s were only 20 years ago, and that's not true anymore at all.
Oh, and trust me, as someone who grew up in the 80s, it feels so weird. But that's what I'm saying. It's like making these little changes, I feel, made my channel a little bit more complete. And the fact that I gave it a little bit more of a structure, I was like, I think that it's going to be better for me, rather than just everybody else. So at the end of the day, it's like, you know, if you want to watch, watch. And if you don't want to watch, don't watch. That's okay. I mean, I also think what's really good about putting together individual ideas into your channel is certain things attract certain people and other things attract other people. So you get a broad range. I mean, look, I can never do what you booktubers do. I can't read as many books as you guys. I just can't. I had to focus on one book at a time, because if I read more than one book, I get lost in everything.
Yeah, that's fair. I have like a mind that goes at like a million miles an hour. So I tend to I listen to my audiobook while I'm at work doing loads of work, and like everyone like comes up to me and they're like, "You what? You're listening?" And I'm listening to it on ×3 speed as well, because like my mind's made for multitasking, so I end up doing like 10 million things at once, which is why I've always got like at least 3 books on the go at once, which when you say it out loud just sounds insane. But
So let's get into the 4th question, and let's talk about that exact day that you made your first video on your own. How did you feel, you know, turning Brews in Reviews into a one-host show? Your thoughts before you put the video out there and after the video was recorded, and if you want to go even further, like, how did you feel watching the finished product when it first went on to YouTube?
yeah, I think before I was mostly like really nervous, because I think I'd been on YouTube for like a year as a duo, so I think it was just over a year, and I sort of sat there and I was like, oh, are people are gonna watch this, and they're either gonna do one of 2 things. They're gonna say okay and carry on watching, or they're gonna say, oh well, okay then, see you, bye, and just not be interested, because it's very different to go from like that conversational style of 2 people to 1 person. And then I was like, what if people aren't interested in listening to what I've just got to say? And like that was my major thing. I was like super anxious about it, and I actually took like a 3-week break from the point where I knew that Ham wasn't going to be on the channel anymore. And then I was like, it took me a long time. I think I filmed that video 3 times before I could actually get what I wanted to say right. And then editing it was like, I was just like a ball of nerves, really. That's just how I live my life. But yeah, I was just nervous about it. And then when it went up, I sat there and I was like, again, just really nervous for ages. And then I made sure that I posted another video quite soon afterwards, because I didn't want that to be the thing. Like, I just posted that change and then didn't show anything else of what I was going to be. Like, I wanted to, no, this is what the impression of the channel will be. Here's a notification of the change. And then the next video I put up quite soon after to just be like, this is me, I'm talking just as normal. And again, super nervous about that one, but it kind of took the attention away from that one and moved on to what I was actually going to be, rather than just change is scary. Like,
but you
so
know
I just
something
got on.
Yeah, but that's actually a very wise strategy, because there are a lot of people that, you know, they make a landmark video where they basically say, you know, here's what's going to change on my channel. And then there's like a long hiatus and they don't make a video after a while. So the fact that you actually decided to basically implant in the watchers that the show goes on, you know, the show is not stopping. First of all, I didn't even realize that. So clearly, you obviously did a very, very wise decision in regards to doing so. And yeah, the other thing that I think was wise for you to do that is because it obviously kept you motivated to say, okay, so now I made this one, now let's move on to the next one, and now let's move on to the next one. And it's so funny that you mentioned hiatuses, because I do that, you know, like at the end of every year, I like to take a 3-week hiatus just to relax, just to plan ideas, but I still put up the trailer reel and I put up the compilation of the motivational moments, which a lot of people are now very upset that they're not continuing on. The motivational moments are over. And, but you know, when it comes to that day where I'm actually saying, oh my God, I gotta go turn the camera back on now, you know, I gotta do my new update, my new series of videos, it's sort of unfamiliar for a little bit of time just because of the fact I haven't done this. And it's amazing how 3 weeks can just make you feel a little bit on edge all over again, even though, you know, like, look at me. I've been doing this for 10 years and I'm still a little bit antsy about this new video just because it's been a while, because then you got to get back into the whole groove of making sure that you don't pause, making sure that your thoughts are all there, etc., etc. So yeah, you know, I still feel angsty when it's time to do it again.
Yeah, the whole break thing is just, yeah, I don't think a break would have been good for me at that point in time. I think what you said about motivation was like the key thing there. Is if I had had a break, then all I would have been thinking about was that one video as well as everyone else. So moving on was like, oh, it just works. It just carries on and that's fine. And I, like, rather than taking a break from it and going, oh, I've just, yeah, this is how I'm going to be on my channel now. Very awkward and strange.
I still don't see that. I still see a person who just likes talking about what they like to talk about. But you want to know something? If we were all not quirky and if we didn't have strangeness within us, the world would just be boring and YouTube would have collapsed a long time ago. The fact that we all have these little tweaks and these little awkward things about each and every one of us, that's what makes us all great content creators. And you know what? The other important thing is the fact that YouTube has become something that, I don't know about you, but I never in a million years would have expected that YouTube was going to not just be a place where people could post videos, but it would also be a place where people wanted to come to meet other people. Because one of the things that I've said many times is this platform seems to be the place where all the nerdy kids who got bullied in high school and elementary school came to find each other. It's like every person, every booktube newbie tag I watch, everybody says the exact same thing. I don't have friends in the real world who read. I find that so weird. Like, seriously, it's basically saying that 1 out of every 20 kids reads books. If that's the case, then society is fucked beyond repair.
Yeah, I tend to find, like, as I've grown up, because, like, when I was in school, nobody read like I read, and like there were a couple of people that would read, but not quite as much. And people tend to pick hobbies, and things like sport were going a bit higher where I live, at least, than things like reading. And then as I've grown up, I don't know if it's just the fact that I work in like sort of a publishing sort of industry. I've met so many people that read, and then I'm like, oh, I know loads of people that like to read now, but I don't know. Maybe it's like a thing that people sort of look at as a relaxation thing when they're adults rather than kids. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, because I've said this to so many other people. It's like, the fact that I am well into my 30s right now, and I just decided around the time that I had my birthday, like, you know what? I'm going to collect comics again. Well, I don't like to say this, but okay, boomer, like these are people that believe that comic books are kids stuff, My parents are baby boomers, and they believe that that was for kids. They don't seem to understand. And I think it's finally starting to sink in with a lot of older generations that because of what Generation X and beyond was exposed to in terms of what their childhood was,
Yeah.
it's a very different, we are a very different breed of adult.
Yeah, I think so.
It's also because of the fact that we had a lot more in our childhoods to enjoy. My parents growing up, they didn't have video games. They didn't have these kinds of programs like that are for kids, because there's a lot of cartoons that, older people in their 30s and 40s are actually still watching. So the fact that our childhoods have never been shed, and another major blame for that is Funko, because I don't know if you've ever watched the Funko documentary on Netflix.
No, I haven't watched it yet. I remember you saying about it, and it is on my list.
But one of the few things that they say, one of the most famous actors in horror films, Robert Englund, who plays Freddy Krueger, he says the concept of the adult is gone. He said, now there are ways for kids who are now adults to continue in so many ways to embrace what they loved as a child. He said, when these children were growing up, and they couldn't get everything that they ever wanted, but now they're suddenly looking at themselves and saying, hey, I have a job. I make money now. I can use that money to buy all those things that I couldn't have when I was a kid. But I'm trailing off. What I was trying to say was, comic books, when I come home, I don't want to watch TV. I go home, I get settled, I have a nice dinner with my wife, and then I just read comic books to unwind, and I just feel my stress levels just going down. Or sometimes just going into my walk-in closet down here in my basement and looking at my entire collection of collectibles, Funko Pops, and other kinds of figures, and just like admiring all these things just makes me feel peaceful. It makes me feel at ease. And that's what I also feel that YouTube can do as well. And when you make those specific changes to make you feel more comfortable, it gives you a sense of de-stressing.
Yeah, totally get that. Like, I think that's like a fun thing about, which is why I enjoy rereading things so much.
Yes.
Because you have stuff that like you read when you were a teenager, and then you're like, oh yeah, I need to buy this again so that I can reread it as an adult, and then you love it, and then you talk about it, and you're like, you probably won't like this because you don't have the nostalgia for it, but like, I love this book.
Oh, please. Like when they announced that they were making those Harry Potter illustrated editions, I got on those like you wouldn't believe. And reading books 1 through 4 now in illustrated edition. I swear it's like reading them for the first time because
Yeah.
you have all these beautiful illustrations and it just opens up a whole new world for you. And I love how creative those books are, like how the pictures are within the words and how pages are a different color. And then I go and rewatch the movies again. It's like watching the movies, it's just something familiar, but it's still something that I love, you know?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
totally.
so the fifth question that I have for you is, one thing that's positive about having a channel with a friend is motivation. You have someone there as a sounding board. And one of the few things that I specifically want to mention are 2 channels that I really enjoyed watching, but they're not here anymore because either they were duos and they separated, or they decided that, we just can't do it anymore. And they were very well known and favored channels. One of them was Two Paper Girls, and another one was Game of Tomes. They're not making videos anymore because they decided to go their separate ways and focus on more important things, which is, of course, always respectable. So without another person, you don't have that person to bounce ideas off of. So basically, life sometimes takes over and you have to put your channels aside. So what keeps you motivated besides Cooper?
Yes, though to be fair, he is more of a nuisance than a motivation source because
He is a fluff. I love the pictures. I love that fluff.
he is a fluff. He's currently mad at me because there's like a giant storm going on in the UK at the moment, Storm Kiara, and there's like 80-mile-an-hour winds outside, so I've had to lock him inside. And he kept me up all night, so that was nice of him.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. See, I've not really struggled for motivation for me because like reading is one of the things that just sort of relaxes me and just sort of, it's just a thing that I do. It's part of my routine and it's just a general thing. I also have like the job that I started a couple of years ago. I have a group of friends that I met when I was there, and they're all really nerdy people as well. So it really helps. I can just like sort of talk to them about what I want to do on the channel, or like I did it specifically with the biannual bibliothon videos that I was doing, like because they involved like getting out of the box a little bit and a lot of like role playing things, which I'm not particularly great at. And I like a lot of the time I have a lot of doubt with those because I'm like, am I even funny? Do I just think I'm funny? And is this just going to be an absolute mess when like I show it to people? So I like run ideas past like my friends and just be like, does this sound like it could be funny? And then if they say yes, then I'll still make them watch the video before I like say that it's done, and like we'll put it up, because with that sort of thing that involves less of like just this format where I'm just talking at a camera sort of thing, I get sort of super nervous about it, and they help me go, no, yeah, that is something that can go on the channel, and that is something that's interesting to watch rather than just a crazy mess. Yeah. But yeah, it's really my main motivation. My family are really helpful as well. Like I've got a little brother who's 15, and he just is really cool and like to help me out where he can. He appeared in one of my videos and threw porridge at the wall at one point, which was not helpful, but it was funny. So yeah, it's just random.
Yeah, you see, that's one of the few things that I don't have. I don't really have much family that really cares about my YouTube channel. Like, they know that it's there, but they're just not interested in watching. But you know something? That's okay. I don't mind that. As long as they're basically saying, don't do it, it's stupid. That's all that I care about.
Yeah.
My wife doesn't even watch my stuff.
I don't know. It's one of those things, isn't it? Because like, I think my family know that if I'm talking about it on here, then I'm not talking about it to them. So they'd rather just watch it once rather than hear me talk about it to them as well as watching it. So they're just like, yeah, watch that. That's fine.
No, I think what really motivates me is just, the fact that I've made all of these great friendships and everybody just loves to see what I do. I always appreciate getting comments, but it's like, if I get a comment from someone who I've actually taken the time to build a friendship with through this
Yeah.
platform, I just always embrace when I get it, because I'm just excited to hear what someone who actually knows me a little bit more than just what I bring to camera. I like the fact that they're willing to throw out those ideas. I mean, I always love honestly, when I do a video and someone disagrees with me entirely who knows me, I love when that happens, because then I get to go into Twitter and we get to talk, or we go and do a FaceTime thing and we get to talk a little bit more about it. And
Yeah.
it's fun. It's so much fun. And also I feel that the fact that a lot of what I do now is a collaborative effort, I just feel that that gives me a little bit more motivation, just because of the fact that not only am I going to get on camera and have a conversation with someone who I appreciate talking to, but also because of the fact that it's going to be a lot more effortless to put the video together. Like Sunday sit-downs are probably my easiest videos to make, merely because of the fact that it's just a flat out fun conversation, and there are very few points where you really need to use the edit button to remove things. That's the most important. And you just put it up on YouTube and it just goes. I mean, I used to do these live, but I felt that it was much easier to pre-record it, because in case God forbid something happens and it has to be dealt with while you're actually talking to someone, it doesn't take away from the overall video. And also too, I think it just allows people to feel a little bit more comfortable and get an easier time, rather than just worrying about, oh God, what if I screw this up while so many people are watching me? But I still give credit to a lot of people who still are willing to do those live shows.
Yeah, like, to be honest, like, I was like a bit terrified at first, when you approached me for this, because I was like, oh my God, live, me live. Oh, not sure that's a great idea. And then when you said about like the format of like pre-recording it and everything, and like the way you've gone about it, made me feel a lot more comfortable, because like this is so totally not something that I would do. So the fact that you've actually gotten me to do this is like, well done you, because that's like an impossibility.
But that's the other thing. It's also just because of the fact that, I watch your videos. I enjoy what you do. You also are someone who likes to do other things with community members. And so I just feel that, what I'm hoping for is that this will be, one of the first of many things that you are willing to do, because one of the things that I think, of course, will be great for everybody, just the ability to work with people allows us all to be more comfortable in our skin, give us more ideas for our own personal channels. And of course, the fact that we actually make contact outside of words in a comment box or words in a tweet just makes our feelings about ourselves and our feelings towards others much more positive and much stronger, and it allows us to be our own motivational driving forces. The more we all work together, the stronger the platform will be, because it's been a very strange time for this platform, and I don't want to go any further than I have to, but I think that specifically in the UK and in the United States, politics has basically bled into everything. And
Yeah.
because of the fact that the topics are so touchy, the whole concept of cancel culture and echo chambers have just been so predominant in this place for the last 2 to 3 years. Now, I definitely will say that 2019, I've seen a massive decline in that, and a lot of people suddenly saying, why do we keep dividing ourselves when we really should be coming together and talking to each other? And that's one of the reasons why I've been doing this for as long as I had, because I had a want to be with other people and talk with other people. The fact that I get to go to BookCon was positive, because I got to see all these other people. The fact that I've made some really good friends in real life. The fact that I'm going to be taking a trip and knowing that there is a fellow booktuber that is going to be spending a day with me and my wife just makes me excited.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely like, that is one of my favorite things just about the community in general, is that there are a load of people that will, there's that common interest that just sort of brings you together, and you're like, yeah, I was making friends with loads of people that I would never have spoken to necessarily otherwise. Well, I never would have spoken to them because I'm like a hermit and don't talk to anyone. So like it definitely pushes me right out of my comfort zone, and like puts me in a position where I'm like, no, I should talk to people because that's a normal human thing to do.
But there's nothing wrong with being by yourself and being with your innermost thoughts and just, reflecting on yourself, because it's important. That's important too. You got to find a nice balance. That's what it really is.
That's it,
So,
balance.
yeah. So, do you feel that being a solo act has changed your perspective of yourself and the community? I mean, like, did you ever think that you would be doing something like this in a million years? And do you think that connections like these are good for us as content creators, even when, we are sometimes solo acts, but sometimes getting the opportunity to get back and talking with more people? Do you think that that's a good thing?
Yeah, completely. Like, yeah, this is not something that I ever would have done. Like, I sat there when you asked me. I sat there and I was like the inner part of me says, say no, say no, say no, say no. But then I was like, but that is the coward's way out of doing this, because like my anxiety is like, say no, not like me as a person, because I want to say yes to things like that. Like I just have like a fear of saying yes to things. And that's more because like I'm like, oh gosh, what if I mess up and people don't like me? And that's just a weirdness. But I think making these sort of connections really, like, this was why I wanted to do something like this, because it sort of pushed me into saying, no, I can do this. Like, I am the sort of person that can have a conversation and like just have a good time. And as we're sitting there doing this, and like the conversation we've had previously and things like that, it just makes me think like, oh, well, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. Like, maybe it's more of the fear of the unknown in that sort of sense, but like it's made me feel like a sort of stronger creator, because I feel like I can do these things, and it sort of opened me up into thinking, well, what are the possibilities now? Because I know that I've been able to do this. Like, what else could I possibly do in the future?
Exactly.
So many different things.
Yeah. And the other thing was, let's say that that major change didn't actually happen, and you and Han would have still been a duo making videos together. The fact that you had that specific connection with someone who had similar tastes with you, do you think that you would have still tried to branch out and work with other community members because you already had somebody there? You know what I mean? Because it's something that I think about all the time.
Yeah, I don't know really, because like I think about a month before like this change happened, me and Hannah had done a video-a-thon with a couple of other creators, and we'd come up with like, we were going to post a video every day, and it was like video challenges and things like that. And so we had gone in that sense, but it wasn't like a major factor of just our channel in general. So I think I had a bit of a direction change, because about a month after that change happened, I actually got a message from Meg from Tome Infinity, and she messaged me about taking part in and like co-hosting the Tome Infinity and Beyond readathon. And like that sort of triggered something in me that was like, oh, I can be a part of a wider community. And it sort of like, I'm so grateful for that, because I think that I probably would have become a little bit more insular if I hadn't have had that sort of opportunity to be involved with other creators and work with them to do certain things. So I feel like having the opportunity there, like it's like an olive branch, like here you go, you can come and do things with other creators. And that really helped me, because otherwise I think I might have been a bit more, I don't know, I may have just gone into myself and gone like, I'll just do wrap-ups and TBRs, which there's nothing wrong with, but
No.
I really enjoy the fact that I do things with the community, and like do readathons with people and host readathons and try and sort of branch out more than I definitely would have done if I hadn't had that.
Well, it's also one of the main reasons, like, you know, it's always intimidating to branch out, especially when it comes to doing a collaborative project, because, like you said, you know, you're always nervous about the fact that when you do this specific thing with a whole bunch of other people, you'll end up doing something that is unlikable, dare I say it, and you basically will be the odd person out and everybody's going to hate you. But again, you know, like, I'm glad that I appreciate the fact that you are sharing with me your thoughts about when I reached out to you and asked you if you wanted to do this. I mean, obviously, I had already asked you to do the 10 for 12. So clearly there was some familiarity with the fact that, oh, you know, Steve is someone who is very easygoing, explains everything with great detail. So clearly, you know, he's someone who I'm sure that if the opportunity came again, I'd probably want to work with him. But it's also the main reason why, if someone has never done a live show with me, it was why I asked you, can we talk and just have a casual conversation just for the sake of having a casual conversation? Because I want the people that I work with to not just be prepared for that show, but I also want people to be comfortable with talking to the other person. Because because quite frankly, you know, it's like, if you and I would have had that day and we would have just not had a good conversation, then I probably would have respectfully said to you, I don't think that we're going to be able to work this way. And
Yeah.
let me just say, it would be a crying shame when that day ever came and said I had to do that to somebody. It would break my heart to know that I have to say, listen, I don't think that we're going to work well together, because, dare I say it, it makes me feel a little bit like a dick, because, like, I'm basically letting somebody down.
Yeah, I
And
see what you mean.
I'm
But
like, you
you
know,
can't have it. Like, sorry, go ahead.
no, please.
It's like you can't, if it doesn't work though, and if you haven't got that sort of rapport with someone, then you kind of can't have this sort of conversation with them. Like, it just won't work, and it's not going to be good for either person. So I don't think you can in the end feel too bad about it if you did have to say that, because I don't know, it's still got to be a conversation, and if it's not going to be a conversation, then it's not worth doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's also really funny. Like, even when I've met some of my fellow community members in person, it's like when I went to BookCon, you know, and I actually met some fellow content creators there for the first time, or seeing people again. It's not the same as talking to someone via FaceTime, because you either are able to talk to that person for like maybe 5 minutes and then you just part ways and you go do your own thing, or you can actually sit down with someone and, you know, actually have a conversation. Because that happened to me twice. The first year I went to BookCon, I actually was able to spend a good portion of my day with Alex over at Pucks and Paperbacks, and the two of us became very good friends. We still talk to each other when we can. I mean, unfortunately, Alex is very busy now with school and all that, and jobs and whatnot, which is great. I'm glad. And also there was Nina from Demigods or Dauntless. We spent, the second year I went to BookCon, we both spent about 45 minutes on the Brandon Sanderson signing line, and we were just talking. And that's what I think it is. There's a very big difference with you saying, hey, how are you? It's so nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And then you just part ways and do other things. I mean, like, I'm going this year. I'm going back to BookCon this year. And I'm very excited because the crowd is going to be massive. Last year, everybody and their cousin twice removed came, and I didn't go. It's going to be a little bit weird for me because this is going to be the first time that I actually go alone. I don't think anybody is coming with me. And that's one of the few things that I'm a little bit nervous about, because, like, yes, I'm probably going to see a whole bunch of familiar faces, but the question's going to be, am I going to be spending some time with some of these people, or is it me just literally wandering around by myself? I mean, it would be great if somebody came with me. My wife has come with me. she's not sure if she wants to come this year unless there's something that she says is worth going to see. Like if there's a specific author that she really wants to go see and possibly get something signed, yes, she'll go. But if there's nothing there for her, she will not go.
Fair. I think that is like one of the things that like I'm not sure if I've never been to like a convention like that. I've been to like Comic-Con once, but like I've never been to like a book convention at all. So like one of the, like my major things is like, oh my god, what if I do go on my own and then I just spend the whole day on my own? That's like one of my major fears, is that, because I'm just not good at, like, obviously you're very good at like talking to people and just being like natural, and that's awesome, and I like so wish that I was like that, but it does not come naturally to me at all. I'm like the awkward person in the corner that's like, make eye contact with me.
I mean, I think what's so funny is, you know, I've done that, but then there have been some times where some booktubers have actually come to New York City on vacation, and I've actually said, hey, you know what? I literally work near I literally work near Times Square and Broadway. Now, if you've never been to New York City and you want to go see that stuff, or the Empire State Building, so I'm like, it's hard to say, like, you know, you want to meet up for coffee? Do you want to meet up for lunch? So, and of course, you know, if you ever came to New York City, I would not let you leave until you at least tried something awesome, like one of the better food places over there. And I want everybody who I know to see Midtown Comics, because it is an amazing comic book store. 2 floors of pop culture nostalgia, alongside with the Strand. Of course, that's the other big place. But that's the thing. It's like, I think that those times where I've actually met people for lunch or for coffee, I've just had a much more intimate experience, and we've just had a very good time, and it's been great. I love the fact that that there are people that are just willing to meet up just for the sake, because, like, you know, I'm there, why the hell not?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great outlook to have. Like, I totally, if people are nearby me, I don't mind meeting up with them or anything like that. I'll have the fear, but like the fear is always with me. But like that's one of those things where I'm like, that is such a good thing to do. It's such a good experience to have, and like that only makes like this, and like meeting up with people would only make me a better person, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not gonna hurt. Like, it's just like me being afraid of stuff. It's only going to be a nice time to meet up with people and actually talk to them, because like if you like them anyway, then like talking to them in person is just nice.
I think one of my favorite experiences at BookCon was when I actually met up with one of the content creators. I met I believe her channel was The Random Reader, and she's a much younger person than me, so she came with her mother, and I actually talked to her mother for a couple of minutes, and I basically asked, where are you guys going outside of BookCon? Like, what places are on your agenda? And I gave them recommendations, you know?
I love it.
Yeah, I was like, because, you know, something, I never lived in the city itself, but I've been to the city so many times. I work in the city. I'm there every single week. And I'm like, I know all of these great places, like these big landmarks and some of these hidden gems. And so I'm just like, you know, I have to share them with other people. I'm like, even if I don't end up going and showing it to them myself, you know, you have to go to these places. That's all that I'm saying, you know?
Yeah.
Like I said,
Sorry, go ahead.
I was like saying, it's like, if you're a booktuber and you do not take a trip to the New York Public Library, there's something wrong. You got to go there.
Yeah, it's like the law.
Yeah. I still haven't been there.
What?
Yeah, I never walked into there. I never walked into the New York Public Library. I walk by it almost every day. I walk from Grand Central Station to Midtown Manhattan, and I pass the New York Public Library every goddamn day, and I still haven't walked in there.
You should do that. Like,
yeah, just not on a work day.
Oh yeah, not the time for it, really, is it?
Yeah. I mean, like, I've also been taking pilgrimages to Washington, D.C. with my wife, because that's where she went to college, and I still have yet to go to the Library of Congress.
Maybe you should make it a thing where you go into all of these libraries that you bypass on a daily basis.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I'm like one of those. Maybe it's just because of the fact that I'm just one of those people who doesn't want to rent. I want to own.
Yeah, I do too, to be fair. I like my library, my local library. It's a great library. It's just it's never open when I'm not at work. So
Yeah, we have
like,
this.
well, tell a lie, it's open from 9 till 12 on a Saturday, and I like a lion on a Saturday, so I'm never usually ready until like after that time. So I never go to my library, which must make me a horrible, horrible booktuber as well.
No, you know something? The most important thing is when it comes to being a booktuber, as long as you're reading something, it doesn't matter where you're getting your book from. Even if you want to actually just pull up the local paper and say, "Oh, what's in the news today?" I'm reading something to you. There you go. I'll read you the Sunday Funny page.
Be like, this month I read 30 newspapers.
Yes, and I realized that my government is still in shambles.
Oh no. What's new?
Hey, look, I will still say that I still have yet to hear somebody talk about how bad the United Kingdom's been doing since Brexit. I still have to hear somebody say something. You're still alive. There's no fire and brimstone yet.
I mean, I don't know. We haven't all killed each other yet, so that's a thing.
That's a good sign. That's a very good sign. And I would be
Although
really surprised if that was the case.
Well, there is this storm that's happening right now that like people are saying this is because of Brexit, and I'm like, okay then.
So then explain the coronavirus.
Oh yeah, Brexit. Everything's Brexit these days.
My attitude is, because I still am somewhat of a believer in a supernatural being up there. I think it's just like God's just doing his daily cleansing period. Like, it's time to start cleansing the earth a little bit.
Well, there is that thing though, isn't there? Like, I saw this meme where it was like every like 20s of a century, like there's some sort of horrible plague or something like that. Like, I don't know if that's true because I didn't look into the meme history, but to be honest though, like, this is very terrible and all the things are very terrible, but like they're all happening all the time. I think we just don't necessarily hear about it as much as we're hearing about this. Like, there's horrible things happening everywhere all the time.
Yeah, I mean, right now, one of the things that I'm hearing about constantly in my news is the fact that it is February and we have gotten like next to no snow, and we're having not extremely bitter cold temperatures. And quite frankly, you know something? I don't mind the fact that we haven't had any major snow, because I don't want to shovel it. I don't want to drive in it. So if we just get rain, I'm completely okay with that. And the fact that it is not 20 degrees below zero and I'm not feeling like I'm going to turn into a popsicle, I'm completely okay with that.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know. Weather is a weird one, like, because obviously global warming and all that. And like, obviously what's happening in Australia, I think I'd rather have whatever weather we were supposed to have than people in Australia be burning down. I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a good time for anyone, really.
I'm a little bit upset. Yeah, I'm very upset about what's been going on in Australia, and I'm a little upset over the fact that the news isn't covering it anymore.
Yeah, it seems to. I was thinking about this morning. It's just disappeared from like coverage because they're like, oh, coronavirus is a thing, which yes, it is a thing, but also other things still happening elsewhere. Like, let's not forget these things.
Yeah, exactly. So before we go off on a massive tangent, because it seems to me that we could talk about this stuff for hours, and maybe we'll continue the conversation when the show is over, but that brings me to my final question. That is, what advice do you have for people out there who may have experienced a similar story to yours, or just someone who is out there who has been making content for a while and doesn't really feel that they're going anywhere, and maybe it is time to make a change? As someone who has gone through a major change in their channel, what would you, and speaking to someone over here who is about to go through a major change in his channel, what advice would you give?
I think like the most important thing is to just take a breath and like think about what you actually want to do. Like, obviously for me, there was no choice in the matter because like the change had happened and that sort of thing. But if you're like, say, in your shoes and you want to just change something because like that's the direction you want to go in with your channel, you need to sort of think about like is what I'm currently doing making me happy? Like, what do I want to do with it? Like, what is going to excite me and make me think, that's what I want to do? I feel happy that I've made that content and I've put that out into the world and that people can watch that. And like, if your answers to those things at this point in time, like if what you're making now doesn't make you happy, doesn't make you think, I can't wait to film that thing, or like, I can't wait to sit down and talk about that, then why are you doing it? Like, there's no, if it's not making you happy, don't do it. If it's change what you're doing. Like, change can be a good thing. And I don't particularly love change. Change is scary for everyone, but it doesn't have to be. Like, as long as the thing that you're thinking about is, what is the thing that's going to make me happy? And like, you do need to be aware that like, not everyone's going to love the change. Like, not everyone's going to be like, yay, this is a new direction that I'm totally happy with being behind, but change happens, and that's a thing. Like, you just need to know that you're doing what's best for you. And then if that means some people don't want to watch anymore, then that's fine. And other people will take that place. And you just still, as long as it makes you happy, the change can't be a bad thing.
I appreciate that. And it's also like, even though I haven't really gone through as many major changes as someone like yourself or other people here in regards to YouTube, you know, that's a good thing that I could take away from this, because you're talking to someone who's made a lot of significant changes in his actual life, specifically in the last 10 years. As someone who went back to school, changed his entire career, you know, got married, moved to an area that he never thought that he would ever be living in, you know, going from living with his parents, living in an apartment with someone who is not my family member, you know, someone who is now my wife, you know, moving so far away from where my family lives right now. The fact that it now costs like $20 just to get to visit me, because we have to cross all these bridges and whatnot. But it's just like, you know, becoming a homeowner, hopefully becoming a parent somewhere down the line, hopefully sooner than later, you know, oh God, dare I say this, next year becoming a 40-year-old person. Like, talk about change. Yeah. You know, all of these things outside of YouTube, you know, you got to do the things that make you happy. That's what the changes are for. And I agree 100%. Those were important things that I've been saying myself, and I'm glad to know that there's other people out there that share in that kind of mentality. And I think that this is a good time to bring this to a close. That's all the questions, and this was an excellent conversation, Kat. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to do this with me. It was a lot of fun. I'm hoping that you appreciated it as well.
Yeah, honestly, this has been so much fun. Like, especially because this was something that I never thought I would do. Like, I've really, really enjoyed this, and I've had such a great time talking to you.
Well, I also hope that this will not be the last time that we work together on other YouTube projects, because I thought of something, and maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll buddy read Watchmen together.
Hey, that's a good idea. I like that. That would get me to actually read it for once, because it's been sat there for ages, and my friend's going to want that back eventually. So
yeah, and I definitely have been meaning to reread it again, especially with what's going on with the Watchmen in comics right now. But yeah, that would be really cool, and maybe even watch the movie. Maybe we could do a whole live show about it too, compare and contrast the movie and whatnot to the book.
Yeah.
All right. Well, on that note, everybody, thank you very much for watching today, and I'm looking forward to another great Sunday sit down with an excellent topic to discuss. But as always, because that's the more important thing, have another excellent YouTuber to discuss it with. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy the Oscars. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. If you're new here and want to see more of what my channel has to offer, please click on the link to my last video, or hit that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of my uploads. Content of all sorts is posted here quite often, so trust me, you do not want to fall behind. I will see you in the comments, and actions speak louder than words.